I think back to when Belgium, when I was a kid, the Belgium team of Koylemans and whatnot in the early 80s. It was like, yeah. And then I think to this group, and it's obviously a lot more diverse, more diverse experiences, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that? And I can't do that so without going into politics, but there are divisions there, obviously, there have been. And yet, to come together like this with the national team, how did you experience that?
Yeah, there's a couple of things that make Belgium particular. I mean, one is the fact that because we're a small country and we're so central, we're very open to different cultures. So it's very normal for us to go to London, to Paris, to Germany, and just do our stuff there. And that also transpired into football. So when the young players that you mentioned, that generation that you wrote a piece about in 2011, a lot of these guys went through academies as well abroad. So because the border clubs are Lille, where Eden Hazard was, and then PSV Eindhoven, where I can't remember which player, but he had Ajax, and all these clubs on the border are so close.
And Ajax,
exactly. Yeah. And so we had access to we had our own academies with Anderlecht and so on, still being good academies, but also abroad, right near to the borders of the country. We had access to like top 5 league type of academies, and so all that talent just kind of benefited from this supercharged kind of education, and then we broke through at the same time as well, and that created for me that generation.
Because many years ago we used to speak about distinct styles and schools of football, and these are all stereotypes we've gone through. England was long ball, Brazil was samba, Italy was catenaccio. I think we've all moved on from that, unless you really are lazy, haven't been paying attention. Everybody's evolved, but in some ways Belgium kind of evolved first, because I always felt that over the years you had some managers who were very defensive many years ago.
We were all about hard work.
But you always had the hard work. That is the one continuous thing, because sometimes with Roberto, I think you were more attacking than you had been. Something. Yeah, that's been the one continuous thing.
Yeah, I think we were always the underdog. So usually in the big games, we had to work hard to stay in games, and I've been a part of that Belgium generation as well, and it was more physical. It was more, and if we weren't on top, then teams would beat us quite comfortably. And then it evolved, I think, because when you have players playing for the top 4 clubs in the Premier League, the top 2, top 3 clubs in the other big 5 leagues, all of a sudden, and then we had Roberto come in as well at the right time, just as that generation was peaking, and having a more probably academic approach of the game for a team that was ready to absorb it. So then we started having possession, we started pressing, we started being the dominant team. But that journey still is still been like it's been a long journey. I mean, the shift couldn't have been bigger. It couldn't have been bigger.
But when you were like, because I'm just curious, but when you were like 24, 25, and you were already established as a top central defender, and you see these guys who are 2, 3, 4 years younger than you coming through, Hazard and De Bruyne and Lukaku, are you thinking like, yes, this is going to be really, really good, all these guys are coming to help me?
So a little bit earlier to your prediction, I think I did an interview when I was 17, and I said in that interview I was a kid, but I came through, and I said, because Belgium, we always had that inferiority complex. We're smaller, and people abroad are successful, and we always say, being normal is crazy enough. So, but obviously all the kids like me, I come I come a little bit from the street, and I've never been brought up in this. We've been brought up to be ambitious, and then as well, if you go abroad and stuff, that those kids that I mentioned that went to the leagues abroad and stuff, you just your culture, your mentality changes on that. You break through those chains, if you like. But one of the biggest things I said when I was 2003 or something, I said, so in the youth teams, we would go on with Anderlecht with very strong team and beat, you know, any team we were facing, Real Madrid, Juventus, you know, Ajax and stuff, like really comfortably. So we had a strong generation already. And for what reason would we then get into the first team and all of a sudden we can't compete with these guys? You know, what changes from the age of 16 to 20 that all of a sudden they get better than us? And in the beginning it was more like we all came in at the same time, which cost us a lot of points in the table. Like we were very, very bad for a long period of time because we were too young.
Yeah.
But then we grew for about 7 to 8 years together. And then 2014 to 2000, I would say, hopefully till now, that was that kind of, you know, we pushed through. But it took time, just time.
But can you work your head around why you haven't won a Euros or a World Cup? It's just little details at times. Things didn't go your way. 2018, we were talking about before we started.
It's a tournament. You know, anytime you get a draw, you know, you're in the hands of luck, and it's a tournament competition. So, you know, Belgium has been number one in the world for how many years now? 6, 7 years, like a really long time. So the consistency has been there, and they've been winning the groups comfortably for many years. But when you get into a tournament, there's like that group phase, and then you shuffle the pack, and anything can happen. And you know, margins like the World Cup in 2018, you're in the group stage, you've got the last game against England, and the losing team gets the better pathway to the final. And of course, what do? We go and win this game. And all of a sudden, you got Japan, Brazil, France, and then England again at the very, very end. And so every game was just tough for us in that tournament. And then being third is still a fantastic result. You can't win them all.
We joke about it, right? But if you think of the knock-on effect, I mean, Gary Southgate's talked about it, but just, you know, maybe if England win that game, maybe, you know, England don't go to the semi-final, and Gareth Southgate doesn't emerge with all this credit and this self-belief, and then they don't reach the final of the Euros.
So
yeah, no,
I'm fine.
and we won the Euros later.
I'm just saying.
But I'm saying, I always find it fascinating how we're talking about 7 games if you reach the final.
It's nothing.
It's nothing, and it's 1 month. It's 1 month. You know, I'm sorry. I hope you do well this season at Burnley, but it's entirely possible that you will have a spell of 7 games where maybe you lose 1 or 2 games.
Yeah,
and then it's still a great success.
Yeah, you have to actually consider this, and
But we draw so many conclusions from this. This player's good. You know, in the past they used to buy players on the back of a good World Cup. Hey,
don't.
Yeah, exactly. Don't make that mistake.
Don't. 7 games, it's nothing, and especially. The World Cup's not like anything else, and you really have to peak at the right time. It's not the group stages. It's, you know, like for us, even in that 2018 World Cup, that was actually a fantastic World Cup for us because we won so many games as well. But we really had to peak only in 1 game. It was the Brazil game. Yeah. That was like, for us, we had to get to our best level because they were so good. And then like the France game is a set piece. It's a corner, you know, and we have a corner where Toby Alderweireld does a fantastic header, I think it is, or a shot, and Hugo Lloris makes like a save, and I was close by. For me, it was in, and he makes a save, and that ball goes out, and then we've got a front post run on a near post run on a corner, and those margins. But I'm someone, I love participating in tournaments. I love it, but I never draw conclusions from them. It's pointless. The best team in the world is not the team who wins the World Cup.
Yeah.
No.
It's very rarely the team that wins.
Unless it's France. But,
unless it's Belgium.
Can they do it this year, do you think?
I think they can, yeah. But I think they'd be comfortable saying that this other team's favourite as well. But they can, I think, in the same way that Italy won the World Cup as well, you know, with an experienced team, being disciplined, organised, having the advantage of having played a long time together, and having game changers in the team. They've got match winners, and you need that in tournaments.
I mean, KDB, I just want your opinion on KDB. If he still amazes you now, you saw him really young, he grew with you at City, he's finished 3rd in the Ballon d'Or, he can go higher, I think one day he can win it. What's your relationship, and what's your opinion about Kevin?
One, he's got this thing which is of course very Belgian, is humble, and that makes him likable. But the thing as well is just his football brain. You know, And I've always said it. I think he would say it himself. But you give Kevin a team with a plan, and he will be directing the orchestra. And you got other players like Hazard is a good comparison. Doesn't need a plan. Put him on the pitch, and
he's the plan.
Yeah, he is the plan. But Kevin sees the plan. He closes his eyes, and then he receives the ball and he executes, and he knows before he gets the ball what he's going to do. You just have to run and get there. And that's very special. There's like a big part of his game that you don't see, that is even more special than what he offers when he has the ball.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.